When the evening folds itself over Brussels like silk, I stand by the high window and watch the sky drink from the river. The bells below the palace sing their slow confession to the dusk, and I think of you, always you, walking somewhere beyond the gardens, where the city loosens its collar and breathes. The lamps bloom, one by one, and I imagine your face behind each one, a flame shaped by wind and memory. How strange that love can stretch itself so far, yet still arrive at the heart as if it never left. I have been taught to stand straight, to speak with grace, to wear duty like a crown that does not bend. Yet in the privacy of thought, when the corridors are hushed and my shoes echo like small bells against marble, I feel another inheritance, the soft rebellion of the heart. It whispers your name through the folds of my gown. I do not say it aloud, but my pulse does. The chandeliers know. The mirrors keep my secret. I write this not as a princess, but as a girl who has seen stars from the palace roof and wondered if each one burns for a different kind of promise. Yours, perhaps, is the one that trembles just above the horizon, the patient one, waiting for me to look up. And when I do, it feels as if you lean closer, your light brushing the air around my face like breath. I think of how impossible it is to touch light, and yet how possible it feels when I think of you. The wind over the gardens carries the scent of damp earth and roses left to bloom past their ceremony. I walk through them sometimes after dusk, unaccompanied, so the guards will not see the unroyal thoughts in my eyes. I brush my fingers along the petals and pretend they are your lips, curved and secret, tasting of rain and laughter. I have never kissed you, and yet I know what it would feel like, the hush of eternity folding itself into a single heartbeat. They say love is dangerous for those of us born to nations and not to ourselves. They say it can alter history, disturb alliances, weaken the spine of tradition. But how can something that makes the heart stand taller be a weakness? I would rather be remembered as the one who loved too freely than the one who never dared to feel at all. Sometimes I walk through the great hall of portraits, the faces of ancestors gazing down with their solemn, gilded eyes. I wonder if they too loved in secret, if their hearts ever stumbled out of rhythm for someone who was never meant to be theirs. I imagine them whispering among themselves, saying, "Let her love, let her make her own myth." Perhaps that is the truest inheritance, the courage to choose tenderness in a world that worships restraint. When I think of you, I think of mornings that never quite end. The kind where light does not strike but spills, where it finds its way into corners and lingers like honey on the tongue of the air. You are that kind of morning. Even in absence, you spread warmth. Even in silence, you sing. The language between us is not built from words but from small, invisible gestures. The pause before breath, the tilt of thought toward another. Do you know that each time I write your name, the ink seems to bloom differently? It spreads, not sharply, but like music finding its echo. The letters do not merely describe you, they call you into being. Perhaps love is the most ancient form of creation, to think, to feel, and thereby make something real from what was only longing. I have tried to reason with my heart, to remind it of what it must not want. It listens politely, as one would listen to a dignitary, and then does as it pleases. It keeps painting your shadow into the future. It keeps setting another place for you at every imagined table. Sometimes I think I am not waiting for you at all, but for the moment the world is kind enough to let me be yours. Do you remember that winter evening by the sea, when the wind was so fierce it seemed to erase our footprints as soon as we made them? We walked anyway, laughing into the dark. You said, "The ocean has no memory." I said, "Then we must be its memory." I still believe that. If the waves forget us, the stars will not. Every time they burn, they repeat our laughter. Every shimmer on the tide is a syllable of our names. The night I realized I loved you, I was not dressed for romance. I was wearing duty like armor, attending a gala where the air smelled of perfume and expectation. And then I saw you at the edge of the crowd, unadorned, unafraid, holding no title but your own sincerity. It struck me like a chord too long unplayed. The room fell away. In that moment I understood what poets mean when they say love chooses us, not the other way around. There are days when I am full of composure and grace, every gesture measured, every smile correct. And then there are moments when your memory ambushes me, when I nearly forget who is watching. My hand lingers too long on a teacup, my gaze drifts beyond protocol, and for a brief span, I am only human. The courtiers do not notice, or pretend not to. The walls, however, have learned to hold their breath with me. At night, I read letters I will never send. They are folded and refolded, kept in a box carved from cherry wood, its scent faintly sweet, faintly sad. In those letters I speak freely. I tell you of my fears, that time may scatter us, that duty may harden what was meant to be soft. I tell you of my hopes, that someday, somewhere, the world will be quiet enough for us to meet without disguise. I tell you of my dreams, that you will take my hand not as a subject, not as a secret, but as an equal flame beside yours. You once told me that love is not a cage but a constellation, that to love is to shine toward, not to hold. I have carried that thought like a talisman. When I look up at the night, I do not wish for you to fall to me, I wish to rise to you, to meet where distance becomes light, to kiss not through lips, but through the shared surrender of space and silence. That is what I mean when I whisper, a kiss between stars. Sometimes, when the moon is low and the city sleeps, I walk barefoot through the gallery of mirrors. Each reflection offers a slightly different self, the royal, the daughter, the dreamer, the beloved. Somewhere among them is the version of me that belongs only to you. She smiles differently, softer, as if the world has finally made sense. I have been told that love passes, that it is a fever of youth. But I have studied history, and I know the truest things never pass. They transform. Empires fall, languages change, crowns fade. Yet the pulse of two hearts once aligned still trembles through time. Perhaps that is our fate, not to belong to one another, but to the endless story of what it means to reach beyond what we are allowed. You exist in everything I touch. The silk of my gown reminds me of your voice, steady, smooth, certain. The rustle of the trees outside my window sounds like your laughter finding its way through distance. Even the rain, patient and persistent, seems to echo your promise. I will return. In public, I wear calm like a veil. I shake hands, I smile for cameras, I speak of hope and service and the future. But beneath the fabric, my heart beats its private rhythm, whispering your name between each word I utter. If they listened closely, they would hear it. But love makes us brave and careful in equal measure. I do not know when we will meet again. The world spins with its demands. The calendar fills like a relentless tide. Yet every night I light one candle for you. Its flame trembles, alive, defiant. I imagine you somewhere under the same sky, perhaps looking up at the same moment. The thought stitches distance into devotion. When I dream, you are never far. Sometimes you walk through the royal gardens, carrying no bouquet, only a question. Sometimes you stand at the edge of the forest, waiting. Sometimes we dance, not in a ballroom, but in the space between heartbeats, where no one sees and no rules apply. There, I am not a princess. There, you are not forbidden. There, we are only truth. If one day history writes of me, I hope it writes this, that I loved, that amid the duties and the dignities, I kept a small flame for one who taught me the shape of freedom. That I learned the difference between rule and wonder, between the power inherited and the power chosen. For love, when chosen, is the highest sovereignty. The world will go on spinning in its grandeur and its sorrow, but somewhere, I believe, the stars keep a record of us. They have seen our longing, our restraint, our courage to feel despite consequence. They have witnessed the kiss we have not yet given, and they guard it, suspended, waiting, shining. So when I stand on the balcony and the night hums softly, I imagine the stars bending toward each other, closer and closer, until at last they meet. That light, brief, brilliant, unending, is us. You once said, if we cannot be together, let us at least be the same sky. I carry that sky with me always. It stretches above every obligation, every distance, every quiet tear shed in secrecy. And each time I close my eyes, I return to it, the vastness where your light meets mine, and we become something infinite. This is how I love you, not in the language of promises or the ceremony of vows, but in the quiet constellations that guide sailors home, in the tender defiance of flowers blooming where frost should reign, in the silent strength of a candle that refuses to die even when the wind insists. If the world ever asks me who taught me the meaning of grace, I will not say it was the throne or the tutors. I will say it was you. You who looked at me not as a symbol, but as a soul. You, who saw through the gold and the glass to the girl who wanted only to love and be loved. And if the stars ever ask what became of us, I will answer this: we kissed, not once, but forever. We kissed in light, in thought, in the gentle defiance of time. Our lips may never have met, but our hearts did. And that, in the language of the universe, is the only kiss that matters. The dawn arrives now, pale and cautious. The bells begin again, announcing another day of ceremony. I place this letter beneath the lilac on my desk, where it will never be sent. But as I seal it, I feel your presence, as if the distance has thinned for a heartbeat, as if you stand beside me. In that fleeting closeness, I whisper what no decree can erase, what no crown can command or forbid: I love you. And the stars, hearing it, bow low in silence, their light trembling like breath.